What's up, witches? So, I've been wanting to make this video for a while, but I wasn't really sure when was the right time. And me being the kind of person that I am, I decided that while I'm home battling fun side effects from my second dose of vaccine, that would be the best time to make a video explaining to you my own personal philosophy, just for life in general, and now especially as it relates to my practice as a witch. So I'm kind of calling this my own personal witch's read. Me being out of it and loopy, I will be able to keep this video as on point as possible. So stay tuned. I've only been exploring and dabbling in practicing witchcraft for about 6 months now. So I'm still kind of wading through all the accumulated knowledge I've picked up over the years. And as I've said before, I majored in English with a focus on world literature. And then I also picked up a minor in East Asian Studies because I wanted to be able to take all the classes on Eastern philosophy and religion specifically. Being someone who was, technically baptized Catholic, but not raised in a religious household in the sense that my family didn't go to church, and I didn't really have any of that kind of Christian indoctrination specifically imposed on me per se. So throughout my life, there would be one or two times when shit hit the fan and I would try to reach out to God or whoever. But I never really felt any connection. I never really got any response. And as someone who wasn't an active participant in a Christian religion of any sort, and not even in terms of just praying on my own to a God day to day, it felt like even if I was to reach out to a God in the moments when I needed one, that the Abrahamic God does not strike me as someone who wants you for a fair weather friend. I don't know. That's just me. And long story short, yeah, I could never really feel connected with that faith, even on the rare occasions when I did try to explore it. Once I went off to college, I did actually end up hanging out with a lot of Christians. I spent a lot of time, my roommate was a part of those social circles, and so while I never really felt a connection to it specifically, it kind of helped to reverse some of my own personal stance against Christianity as a whole. While I will never get over losing the Library of Alexandria, it's always going to be too soon. While I kind of had a lot of resentment towards it because of that, meeting individuals themselves who were really kind people and I felt did actually embody, quote unquote Christian principles, helped me to kind of, in terms of being something that I felt drawn to or connected with and wanted to be a part of, not so much. And then, so yeah, I've just kind of been, as I said, on a lifelong quest for knowledge. And so I've studied and read up on a lot of different mythologies, religions, folklores throughout all of time and place. Just kind of not only searching for those common threads and those fascinating links between, stories and cultures, but just what appealed to me personally in terms of my own spirituality. And that's something that I think I've spent my whole life searching for. You know, we're all searching for meaning of some type in our life, you know, some type of spirituality, I feel like. And so for me, that was always just being really drawn to nature, having a reverence for nature, which is how I've kind of landed myself now in the whole paganism realm, because I especially focused on like the Celtic and Proto-Indo-European myths and the connections between those and all those like dying fertility god stories throughout the mythos, and specifically wanted to do the minor in East Asian studies because I wanted to learn about Hinduism, Taoism, Eastern religions like that. So I did a lot of studies on those, and I found a lot in like Hindu and Buddhist principles that I did feel a connection with. I mean, I'm gonna make more in-depth videos on that, so I won't get into it here, but what I'm trying to say is within my own personal life philosophy, i.e., just how I've tried to conduct myself in my day-to-day life, just my own personal morals and principles that I have come to keep and accept and use as like my building blocks of my own personal spiritual foundation, if you will. There are, like, I guess you could call me like an eclectic pagan with more of an emphasis on Norse deities right now, because when it comes to like my witch's read or my personal philosophy with how I try to live life, and especially as it applies to applying your knowledge and willpower into practicing magic, I feel like there are a lot of different pieces that I've taken from different philosophies and spiritualities that I've come into contact over the years. And so now this is kind of just accumulated into, my own personal witch's read. So I wanted to take some time to lay that all out for you. But yeah, with just the disclaimer that, I'm an eclectic, weird individual. So the thing that's great about paganism is that it's not dogmatic. So don't take any of this as dogma or rules per se. It's like Captain Barbossa says with the pirates. They're not laws or rules. It's just more like guidelines. So this is my own personal guidelines that I try to follow as I live my life, and now specifically incorporate into paganism and witchcraft. So let's get started. So my number one rule is the words written above the temple of the oracle at Delphi in Greece, which is know thyself. And what I mean by that is what you see coming up as a common theme in a lot of these Greek tragedies specifically. It's not even so much because, like, there, you have the tales of, like, Oedipus, where, like, self-fulfilling prophecy and, like, that sense of irony where because they don't know all of the circumstances, and in his specific case, like, or in a lot of, like, even the Norse sagas, like the saga of the Volsungs and things like that, where it's, like, because you have these characters or these heroes that don't know their lineage specifically or their background, they make these decisions that they don't know are affecting things in the much grander scheme of things. And whereas I think it's not so much important in terms of specifically like knowing your ancestry, knowing where you come from, because yes, like that is important. But to me, it's more a principle of you got to put in the work on yourself and get in touch with your true self. Because especially what I have found working with the Norse deities, and what I like about working with them, is that contrary to what some of the extremists out there will try to tell you, the gods don't care about your background or your ancestry. They don't care if you're gay, straight, whatever. man, woman, non-binary, whoever or whatever you want to be in this life, like whatever makes you feel the most comfortable inhabiting a body on this material plane, like it's important for you to put in the work on yourself to find your true self and then strive to be the best version of that self. And that, I think, is also all that the gods want from us. Know thyself, the good and the bad, doing that shadow work, as you will commonly see it referred to here in the pagan paths, which, yeah, just means being able to look inward, reflect on your own actions, your own past, even yeah, those shadow parts, the things that you might not really like about yourself, the things that you might have regretted doing wrong, or even just the things that you felt like were rejected growing up as a child. Like for me, like those weirdo eccentric parts of myself that usually made me like not fit in and like be the black sheep and have a hard time kind of fitting in with social circles. I've kind of learned to like cast that part aside, bury it deep down, and try to be like a social chameleon in a lot of ways because I just wanted to fit in and make some fucking friends, you know. I don't know if you want to call it a midlife crisis or what, but I think it's more, yeah, casting aside all of those weights and things that have been put on you over the years by life, by people, by society, by your own self. In my case, like I'm really hard on myself. I doubt myself and put myself down a lot. And so, yeah, know thyself just means being able to put in the work on yourself, do that shadow work to come in to be able to synchronize both the good and the bad and come out a better, more grounded, harmonious person and be able to, yeah, always be striving to be the best version of yourself that you can be. You know, it's always going to be kind of an uphill battle. There's a lot of days where it's going to feel like it's one step forward, three steps back, but I think the point is even if you fuck up on occasion, like we're all human, we're all flawed. Even the gods are flawed and make mistakes and can't see everything coming, and that's okay. Like that's just life. So accept it and make the best of it and just constantly just be trying to do better. Be better, you know? That's it's not that hard. Just be nice to people. Anyway, so that kind of segues into my second principle, which is after you kind of get in touch with yourself and know, you know, what you want for yourself and what's best for you, I feel like it's important to thy own self be true. And what I mean by that is not being self-centered or like fuck the world, fuck everyone else, I'm gonna get mine. No, it's not so much that because we need to have compassion for other people, um, because otherwise, you know, the world is just a shitty place where everyone's only looking out for themselves, and that is my biggest pet peeve, is people who are just like oblivious to their surroundings, or like just drive, especially like I have, oh god, let me tell you guys, despite my like cute tiny appearance, you do not want to be in a car with me because the road rage is like next level. I think just because like it's my little safe space where no one can hear me ranting and raving at it makes me feel like there's so many people out there that yeah, like they do think that like they're the only ones that exist and they're not looking out for anybody else. Like they're only looking out for themselves. And you need to have a balance where you have compassion and are aware of other people, but at the same time, speaking as someone who's like an empath and like always been an extreme people pleaser, you don't feel selfish for putting yourself first and doing what's going to make you happy in life, you know? Like I love my friends and my family and like my husband, and I want to be a good spouse and daughter and employee, friend, whatever, but at the same time, there are a lot of people out there who will see those traits in you and take advantage of it. And so at the same time, like I can't let myself be a doormat either. So you need to, yeah, um, figure out what's, the best version of yourself, strive to be that best self and be true to that self in terms of just, yeah, being yourself, trying to just, yeah, be genuine and do what makes you happy. And a good kind of adage that I've heard a lot nowadays and that I've really taken to heart is don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Because, yeah, there will be a lot of people who, and a lot of psychic vampires out there who will literally just try to suck the life and the energy right out of you. Or those people who seem to just kind of like thrive on the drama. I don't want to make like generalizations, but in my like 30 something years of life, it seems like the people who say that they don't like drama or they don't want drama, it also, if you grow up in kind of just a chaotic environment and that's all you know in terms of like living and friendships and relationships, you might feel like if there's not something crazy over the top going on, that it's not normal or it's not good. You'll see these people that, yeah, like they might kind of go out there and make things bigger than they need to make a bigger deal of things than they need to because they kind of thrive on it in a sense. It makes them feel like all is right in their world because that's all they've ever known. Um, and so it's important, especially as someone who is very empathic, and if I see someone hurting or having problems, like I really want to help them, I want to fix things, but you can't let it go to that extreme of where you're trying to like you can't live someone else's life for them at the end of the day. I can try to help people and give them advice all I want, but it's up to them to listen to it. And so don't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm, because especially like the more that you try to like take care of yourself and enforce boundaries with people where you never have before, and especially with people who will walk all over boundaries or ignore them, then you're gonna get pushback on it. Like if you're trying to, yeah, like put yourself first, like they're gonna call you selfish. They're gonna try to drag you back in because they feed off of it and they feed off of you and they want someone to come in and fix all their shit for them. And yeah, sometimes you just have to remove yourself from that equation if that's what's best for you and your own well-being. And that's not being selfish. You gotta look out for what's best for you and your own happiness at the end of the day. That kind of also leads into my third principle, which is kind of borrowed from like a Wicca principle and just kind of like a Hippocratic oath type thing, which is that "and it harm none, do what thou will." So I don't really so much believe in that whole like threefold law, whatever magic you cast. Like if you cast a curse spell, it's going to come back at you threefold. It's not quite as precise as that. In my experience, you will have practitioners who run the full spectrum in terms of what they incorporate into their beliefs and magical practices. I don't really like to slap labels on anything, especially magic, in terms of like it's the 21st century. We need to get away from the whole black versus white paradigm in general, and especially where it applies to like morality and magic. So don't get me wrong, like I'm not fully opposed to like hexes or like binding spells, things like that. But just in terms of, like I said, my own personal philosophy, how I try to live my life, that is one of my principles, is that we can't ever take everything into consideration. As I said, like even the gods, like even Odin, they can try to see like all the webs of fate and all the threads of fate and manipulate things for their benefit or to others' detriment or downfall. But even at the end of the day, like there was only so much Odin could do. Like even he knowing and having some type of precognition or heads up of what might happen with like Balder and Loki and that whole and like Ragnarok and that whole thing, like they saw it coming, but they couldn't do anything to stop it. as hard as they tried. So we can't always see what all of the repercussions of our actions are going to be, especially in terms of when it gets into those like intrinsic things like magic. But that's why, yeah, overall, whatever I'm trying to do, I'm going to try to keep good intent in it. Just because that's how I try to live my life. Segues into my last two principles, which number 4 is follow the golden rule, but, disclaimer, only to an extent. I think one of the best resources to go, and what I really found myself resonating with from the moment I picked it up, was the Havamal. For this follow the golden rule disclaimer, I'm going to refer you to the Havamal, because whereas in Christianity you hear that whole like turn the other cheek, and sometimes that people try to skew that to mean like just take all the abuse and don't do anything about it. I'm going to treat everyone I meet with politeness and respect just because that's the type of person I am, and I feel like it just makes your path easier in life. If you try to just be friendly, polite, respectful with everyone you meet, you just kind of find you have an easier time of things. And I think especially with me now being someone who more follows the Vanir pantheon of Norse gods, they are more of the peacekeepers, and just I myself am kind of a go with the flow, peacekeeping kind of gal, you know? I try to just have those calm vibes, and yeah, like I don't like conflict. If people are arguing or even just having like a minor disagreement with each other, I'll try to like be the mediator even when I don't have to be. Like, so I will always try to come in with that on the table to start with, but respect is also earned in my mind. And so you might say I kind of like have a problem with authority in the sense that I don't like there's that whole like respect your elders, and it's like yes, but just because you're a couple years older than me doesn't mean you know more than I do, or are smarter than me. Like age doesn't equal maturity by any sense of the imagination. So it's kind of more like I'm always going to treat people with politeness and respect first, but then from there it's more reciprocal. I'm going to treat you how you treat me. Not to the extent where it's like I'm going to stoop to someone's level if they're really like being an asshat, you know? Like you don't really want to take it that far. I feel like I'm rambling. So I have this passage marked off in the Wanderer's Havamal, which is specifically stanzas 42 to 46, which talks a lot about friendship and how to interact with and maintain relationships with friends and acquaintances. In stanza 42, be a friend to your friend, and repay each gift with a gift. Repay laughter with laughter. Repay treachery with treachery. And so it's, yeah, he kind of goes on to talk about, like, if you have a good friend and you really trust them and you want to maintain that friendship, like, yeah, go the extra mile for that person. And, like, for me, like, yeah, I love doing, like, acts of kindness and small gestures for my friends, and just, yeah, giving people little gifts and thoughtful things, just to show them that, like, I'm keeping them in mind and, like, yeah, want to maintain that friendship. But yeah, it's also a two-way street. So if you're putting in all the time and energy and work on something, to maintain a bond or a relationship with someone, and it's not being reciprocated, or not only is it not being reciprocated, you're like only getting negativity and like shit on in return. Like, yeah, like who needs friends like that, you know? More of I'll be open at first while we establish a rapport and I feel out your vibes, but then from there, I'm kind of, yeah, I'm gonna treat you how you're treating me. If someone's standoffish or I feel like, yeah, we're just not vibing together, we wouldn't hang out and be friends, then, yeah, like I said, I'll maintain that politeness, we'll make small talk, we'll chit chat, but that's as far as it's gonna go. Or then you have your ride or dies, who it's like no matter what, you got each other's back. Like I will hop plane, train, automobile. Like those people, yeah, those people that you would go above and beyond for, and because you know that they would do the same for you. But yeah, a lot of the Havamal, and these stanzas in particular, really resonated with me because yeah, it just talks about knowing who to trust and just being more discerning with who you put yourself out there for and who you put yourself on the line for. You know, repaying kindness with kindness, but if someone if someone betrays that kindness in that friendship, you're no longer required to maintain that relationship because that bond has been violated. The last thing I want to touch on is somewhat borrowed from Hindu or Vedic principles, and I think you'll encounter the concepts a lot in Hinduism, and specifically with another text that I need to really enjoy and need to go back and reread again, which is the Bhagavad Gita. But you'll see a lot talked not only about karma in those religions, which is definitely something that I think is real and am a big believer in, like not necessarily, like I said, to the precision of being like a threefold law, but I just always want to try to leave things a little better than when I found them and just be trying to accumulate good karma while I'm out here living in this world, you know? That's just the kind of person I am. That's how I want to live my life. I want to accumulate that good karma, but it kind of ties into these concepts you'll see, which is like karma and dharma. So dharma kind of means it's almost like the Norse concept of orlog, it seems to me, and this is something I'm going to explore further and touch on a lot more in depth, but it means like duty, your fated path in life almost, you know, like if you're a warrior or a king or whatever, like your path ends up being in life, it's just yeah, like fulfilling that path, or like I said, kind of like I said, being the best version of that self, whatever that self is in this lifetime, and in terms of yeah, like whatever your dharma is, just accumulate good karma to fulfill that, and that's kind of how you climb the reincarnation ladder and ascend to the higher consciousness or whatever. But these are all things that I'm planning to go back and touch up on because I haven't really studied up on them since college. I don't really want to think about how long it's been since then. The principles that you will see crop up a lot and those philosophies is like right thoughts, right deeds, right action, which just kind of ties in with this whole overall philosophy of mine of just trying to be a good person, leave things a little better than when I found it, in terms of like even if I'm having a bad day or like in a grumpy mood, I might just like kind of isolate myself that day and not be as talkative, because like I don't want someone's only interaction with me that day to be like me snapping their head off or like being dismissive or grumpy just because I'm focused on like my own shit. If you're walking through the woods and you see a bunch of litter on the ground, like pick it up. Taking that time and that care, even in like the littlest, smallest, most insignificant ways, like even if it doesn't seem like it matters or makes a difference at all. What if that was your only interaction with that person that day? And it was a terrible one, and like maybe they were also really having a terrible day, and that just like brought them down even further. And it just kind of ties into that whole having compassion and holding space for others as you're going about your life. Like you gotta do you and focus on number one, but yeah, just also holding that space and that compassion for others as you live your life. I think sometimes I strive for that too much, and then, like I said, I'm too hard on myself, and I beat myself up when you run up against those walls where, like, some things, like, you just can't fix. Some people, that they're just gonna have problems that are way bigger than you or way bigger than them, and there's nothing you can do to fix it or make it better, and you just have to go on about your life. But yeah, overall, I just try to make sure I'm keeping the right intent in everything that I'm doing now, especially with magic, witchcraft, spells. Like, don't get me wrong, I totally put a binding on some bitch at work last week. You know, not anything negative or like casting curses on people, but just be like, hey, I need you to calm your shit down. Like, just take 20% off the top there, if you could. Just chill for a little bit so we can all like. So yeah, I'm totally not opposed to doing what needs to be done when it comes to like fulfilling my own sense of like morality and justice, especially now that I'm dabbling in witchcraft and things that I can try to do to influence things and situations, whereas like normally I would feel like helpless or powerless, or like there wasn't anything I could do to affect the outcome. Now that's kind of why I'm turning to witchcraft, is so I have another tool in my arsenal to rely on in those situations to get you through those hard times, you know. While the threefold law is not a thing, you definitely reap what you sow. So just try to have good intent behind whatever it is that you're doing. Like, I'm gonna bind this person, but it's because like it's on a scale to where it's not just affecting me, it's affecting like everyone in my work environment and at this point, you know. Oh yeah, just doing those little things, and accumulating good karma and trying to be a good person. Um, not to like give you the self satisfaction, or you know, like, oh, like pat yourself on the back, but because it does make you feel like a good person when you do a small act of kindness for someone, or just even like something that, yeah, like benefits the world in general, like picking up trash outside, just those little things that you do every day to try to elevate the vibrations of the planet and everyone on it as a whole. It's like ripples in a pond, but it does ripple outward. It does have an effect, because that's really the underlying principle tying all of these things together in my mind, and which you will, I think, find the deeper you go into different philosophies, religions, you know, shamanism, different practices, is that this underlying basis of knowledge that everything is connected. Everything is connected in ways that we may never see or know. So just trying to think before you act, before you speak, about what impact or effect that's going to have, especially with magic. And we'll get into that further the further I delve into learning about it and practicing it, because especially with the Vedas and the Vedic texts and Sanskrit, and then on the Norse side you have Orlog, the runes, Galder, spells, chanting, words, vibration. Like, words are vibrations that can affect the matter around you, and I feel like thoughts are as well, but when you speak your thoughts into words and put them out there in the air as the vibrations, like, yeah, you're putting more emphasis and power behind your words. So it's not always easy. You know, some days are better than others. You know, don't get me wrong, definitely still have those days where you just, yeah, want to go like yell at the nearest heavenly body, or just be like, why me, why are you doing this to me, universe, you know, I'm a good person. That totally wasn't me all of 2020, being like, I've been a good person, damn it, why is this happening? You know, we all still get that sense from time to time, but I think at the same time that's also what drew me to paganism in the last year, especially being able to see how everything is connected on so many levels, and trying to have another tool in my arsenal, in which I can deal with all of the crazy shit that and the ups and downs that life hurls our way. This video is getting really long. I hope it wasn't too rambly. Valley girl, which, what can I say? I say like a lot. Bottom line, you go out there and be who you are too, and who you want to be. Live your best life. And so I hope that these different ideas. I hope that these principles or guidelines, as I called them, are insightful to you. And it's definitely something I wanted to have down, just on paper and be able to share with you all as someone who's still really new in terms of practicing magic and witchcraft. These are my guiding principles that I have taken throughout all of my wanderings and learnings through life and decided to apply to my life and my just general spiritual outlook on life, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm not good at labels. I don't like labels, and at this point, I feel like I would need 5 bajillion of them to try to pinpoint what my spiritual practice and philosophy is at this point. Hi, my name is Amy, and I'm an eclectic neo Norse druidic pagan witch. There you have it. There is my own personal witch's read. I'm really tired now. I think I'm gonna go read some more books and lie down the rest of the day, but I wanted to take this chance to film it while I could. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was especially all over the place, even for me. I have some Wicca in there, I have some Druidic practices, I have some Hindu, Proto-Indo-European, Vedic pantheism in there. I'm all over the place, you guys. That's about all I have to say about that. Mom always said paganism was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. I don't think this mug is big enough.